Hi guys, it's Kelly Ladavola here and I'm back with another video for W+9. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. Well, it's different for me anyway, but I am going to be doing some watercoloring with the Kind Soul set. This is the large border stamp, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. And there are so many different ways to use it, but today I am watercoloring. So I'm working on Canson watercolor paper and I'm going to be doing some white heat embossing. So I'm using my embossing buddy to just go ahead and remove any of the static. And then I'm going to stamp this in Versamark ink. I'm using the full-size Misty because this is such a large stamp. It is designed that way so if you wanted to do a landscape card, it will cover the entire thing. So I'm stamping it at the top of my watercolor paper. My watercolor paper is cut slightly larger than a regular size card front because I know I'm going to have to tape down my paper. I'm using some white embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp and then heat setting that until it's all melted and beautiful. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other side of the paper as well. After that, I went ahead and taped it down to my board and I picked out a couple of distress inks that I want to watercolor with. These are not my typical go-to colors, but I'm trying to push myself and stretch my comfort zone a little bit and trying to get something different. So I'm using a large, wide, flat brush and I'm just picking up clean, clear water. I'm adding it directly over the heat embossing. And I gave myself a little bit of a border outside of the flowers and then I'm wetting all of the area of the flowers. So from here, I'm just going to start picking up colors. This is Shaded Lilac. I picked really spring colors. They are a bit more muted than I typically use. I love me some bright, bold color, but I am trying to be different. I'm also making this card for my mom. So I'm trying to think what she would like. So this is Stormy Sky. And I'm trying to pay attention to what colors will blend well together. Putting the warm lipstick next to the purple. I'm adding a little bit also on the other side of the Stormy Sky because I know I'm using that Squeezed Lemonade and those two blend really pretty to be like a coral color. This is the Evergreen Bough, which is a little stronger than I had anticipated, but still pretty and I'm okay with it. And then I'm going in with, what is this one? It's the green. It's the first green they ever came out with. I cannot remember the name of this. No, it's not Shaded. Isn't this terrible? How can I not remember the name of this? Shabby Shutters. There it is. Came to me. And so it's more of a yellow-green versus the Evergreen Bough, which is more of a blue-green. So I put them all down in various places, and then before I heat set it, I'm going in and just kind of intensifying the color where I want it to be a bit darker. Typically when I do watercolor background, I do 2 layers because I love bright, bold color, but I'm going for a more subtle look here, folks. So I'm trying to get all the color down that I want on the first time, knowing that it's going to dry back quite a bit. So once I have all of that down, I wasn't really loving the edge that I was getting, the really hard edges around the flower bouquets. So I'm going to suck up a little bit of the color and then I'm going to go in with the same brush and just some clean, clear water and just kind of like swoop the edge. So I'm adding some clean clear water to where the edge is. This is going to kind of dissipate that pigment a little bit, and then I'm going to go in with my paper towel. Wow, there's a word to elude you, right? I'm going to go in with my paper towel and just blot up the edges so that they're like nice and soft. Bring in my heat tool and then go ahead and just heat set everything. Now, I'm not going to lie. At this point, at this juncture in the card, I really just wanted to get out my Copics because I'm comfortable with my Copics. So I really love the way that the background had come out, and it was super soft and in such pretty colors, and I really just didn't want to ruin it. But like I said, I'm all about pushing myself, so I'm watercoloring this thing, the whole thing. So I'm going back in with just the same colors. Everything is the same. I'm just using more concentrated, some darker pigments, kind of building up on what is already there. I tried to keep them pretty pretty true to what I had put down in the first place. So I put the worn lipstick down in this corner, and so the flowers that I used there are going to be that worn lipstick, and it's going to blend into the shaded lilac. There are, leaves throughout this, so I did color the leaves the colors that they, would be in nature, greens and greenish blues, just so that the floral scene would make sense. But as far as the flowers are concerned, I really am sticking to what I kind of put in the background and how they blended out. With that said, going into this, let me tell you that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not making that up. I'm not like... I don't want you to leave me comments that, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I love your comments. But like, oh, you totally know what you're doing. No, really, I didn't. And I'm just kind of making it up as I go along, which should tell you that you also can do this. You also can make it up as you go along, because I certainly did. And I don't know. I love the way it came out. So the way that I approached the flowers was I was kind of adding in the shading where I knew that I would put it in with my Copics. So for the bellflower, there's going to be shading that's, more toward the fluted area. For the petunias, I tried to add shading how I would with my Copics. So, using those linear lines, trying to vary the shadows on my leaves. So, when I color with my Copics, a lot of times I'll make one side of the leaf darker than the other. I will add shading, more to the base. So I was trying to stay with the things that I already knew worked. And so here I'm going in with the Stormy Sky, and I'm just kind of adding the darker pigment where the leaves are bowed over, that would be darker. But then sometimes I'm winging it. I'm really winging it, folks. I'm, adding a couple of striations with some clean, clear water and then dropping pigment back in. This flower, a lot of it was the evergreen bough color, and I didn't want a green flower. So I did do a lot of the shading with the Stormy Sky and a little bit with the shaded lilac, just so that by the end of it, not that the teal wouldn't be there, but that it would be just a little bit more blue, because my mama loves blue. So that needed to be in there for sure. And then just, going through and doing it here again, I'm adding the clean, clear water, doing a couple of the striations, and then, adding the pigment. What I ended up finding as I was doing this and as it dried was that the pigment was a bit too strong. I didn't like how varied it was. For some people that might be the look you're going for, and not that it's not pretty, it's just not for me. I don't like those super hard edges. So I found a way around that a little bit later. This part is kind of difficult to see because this is where the Shabby Shutters, now that I know the name of it, right? Where the yellow green and the yellow is. And so because with the white embossing, it is just a little bit difficult to see what's going on there. And I will tell you that while I was doing this, I kind of had my stamp set off to the left-hand side so that I could see, like, is this supposed to be a leaf? Is this supposed to be a flower? Another thing you can do is just stamp one out so that you have that as a guide to look at when you have areas like this where it is just a little bit more difficult. So, but I'm adding a lot of the yellow in this area. For this particular leaf, I shaded a little bit with the Stormy Sky instead of the evergreen bough because it makes a different green. So there's just a ton of stuff that a ton of colors that you can make, with the ones that you already have on your palette. Here's, I was talking about that pretty coral color that it makes. So I'm trying to shade with the pink, except I'm not getting enough depth. It's just not really working out for me. And then by this time I notice that I don't really love how deep the striations are showing up, how deep that pigment is. So what I did was I picked up some clean, clear water. It wasn't a ton. It was more like what Dawn refers to as a thirsty brush. So it is wet, but it is not sopping. And then I just kind of went over the petals. I just kind of like swooped over them a little bit to kind of blend that color. Now I'm going to go back to that other flower. I'm going to add in the worn lipstick to get some shading to make, you know, that kind of orangish coral color, but I wasn't really getting great depth. So again, we're talking about mixing colors. I mixed a little bit of the worn lipstick with a little bit of the shaded lilac. I didn't want it to be too purple because I didn't want it to be like magenta, but it gave me enough contrast. Here I'm going to go back and do just the clean clear water over the petunia to kind of blend those out. But I didn't want it to be like magenta. I wanted the color to be contrasting. And so just by adding a little bit of the shaded lilac, it gave me enough of a darker pink that I was much happier with the results. So just keep working with it until you're happy. So that was pretty much it. I painted the other side, and then once everything was dry, I cut it down to the size of my card front, which is A2, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down, this watercolor panel down to my card base. And then for the sentiment, this is going to be for my mom for Mother's Day. So I was looking around I wanted something really just kind of like an elegant font on the front. And what I ended up finding was the ranunculus, the Beautiful Bouquets ranunculus stamp set. And inside that, there is a "with thanks for all that you've done." And my mother does so much for me. Oh my good God in heaven. Like, I could not survive without her. Could not survive my daily life. So this is perfect. And I stamped that in the nautical navy just so that it would be a bit softer than the black. And then the other stamps that I used is the Wishing You sentiments. And inside that, there's a sentiment that says, "I couldn't have wished for a better," and then you can pick your sentiment, mother, partner, son, and so obviously I could not have wished for a better mother. So that's the one that I went with. And then that's the whole card. I didn't add any embellishments. I didn't add any shimmer. I didn't add anything because I thought it was good just the way it was. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.